So good afternoon, everybody. You're welcome to this month's episode of the Last CCVT Monthly Azure webinar. So today we're going to be talking what's new in Azure. That's from the recently concluded Microsoft Ignite. On today's episode, we're going to be focusing on 10 new announcements that was made in the just concluded Ignite. So my name is Kazim Adegwega, and you can reach me, of course, on social media. It's Kazim Kent Adegwega on the other social media platform. And of course, I'm not alone today. So as usual, we've got Adnan Hendricks with
Hi,
me
Kazim.
today. Adnan, hi. Yeah. So what's your thoughts? Yeah, sure. What's your thoughts on today's episode?
Well, you know, as you know, being used to going to Ignite and usually, you know, presenting and speaking and staffing and doing all those things, it was once again a little unfortunate that we had to do it online, but you know, something is better than nothing. So a lot of new stuff that was announced, some pretty exciting stuff that we're going to discuss with the viewers. So let's get into it.
Yeah, sure. But just quickly, some people might not know about Ignite very much, might not know, how big Ignite really is. So do you mind that, man? Do you want to whet our appetite a little?
Oh, okay. Let's talk about before Corona. I call it BC, and then we have DC during Corona, and then we'll find out what AC looks like in a couple of years. Well, generally, I think up until 2019, we had, Microsoft Ignite is Microsoft's largest technical conference that they usually have in some huge facility in the States. Back in the days, they used to have a Microsoft Ignite Europe as well, but they kind of joined that up to only have it once in the States. And the last ones were in Orlando. And you generally have 22,000, 25,000 plus attendees. So it's quite a large event running over a number of days. So you basically leave for a week to the States, and it's an immersion in everything Microsoft, all the tech stuff, So I like to focus on Azure Cloud and Windows, having held those MVP awards and still being an Azure MVP. So those things are a lot with my day-to-day work. And then there's the nice stuff, and it's one of those places where you can get directly in contact with the program teams, so the people that are building the products, so you're meeting the Microsoft people, and then you get the community guys, the guys that you see online, that they blog, they vlog, they do public speaking all over the world. So it's nice to speak to those experts as well, and pick their brains.
Yeah.
And occasionally meet people like you, have fun, enjoy, and make good friendships and stuff like that. So it's really always been something that's been high on my to-do list, and also setting the tone of the year thereafter, because quite often a lot of the new announcements are made, and the new announcements are really the path that Microsoft will be taking with their products, and also a lot of my customers quite want to know. So the ones that don't go, I kind of attend, view, and as we know now, it's during COVID, so we have to enjoy it online. It's not as large. It's actually more intensive because we, it's they try to do around the world with multiple sessions and those sort of things. So everything's online to hit all the different time zones. But like
Okay,
I said, it's quite intensive.
and also the fact that it's way cheaper now for people that can't afford to make Ignite. I mean, it's not cheap. It doesn't come cheap for people to attend. People
No,
have to pay certain fees to attend. They'll need to.
that's
So
that's
having it online.
so the bonus is that
Yeah.
it's immediately available online, and the keynotes. I mean, you've seen the keynote. It's been amazing the stuff that they're doing. Also, they look at real world issues, and especially all of us, the entire world that we're sitting in. I'm sitting in my home office, at home. We have been the past year, so I haven't really left my house except for groceries and stuff. But I haven't traveled anywhere for work. Everything's been online, and Microsoft recognizes that that's it's something that we've been used to, setting up and working for clients. But now the way the world is moving,
Okay.
everybody's moving to that direction.
Yeah, sure, Adnan. Today's session, we're going to be running this for 40 minutes. Yes, I think we better just jump into it. But the whole idea is that, yes, we'll talk through some of those concepts, right? And maybe in later episodes now, we can start to pick on each of them to look at, right? Myself and Adnan are going to just be walking through, some of these things that we find really interesting, the new releases. I'm just going to start with, there's an introduction of the Windows Server 2022. And, for me, that's really cool. The fact that Windows Server 2022 is around security. Security is a lot better with Windows Server 2022. There's secure builds. It's a lot more difficult for intruders now to attack the kernel, of the operating system. There's the virtualization based security is also being improved on. So the whole idea that I see behind Windows Server 2022 is ensuring that not only are we looking at security of the is also trying to ensure that the software is also running on an hardware that gives a very secure experience. And with the Windows Server 2022, what I find really cool is also the fact that Windows Server 2022 now comes with this idea of hot patching. I mean,
Yeah.
yes, it's taking Microsoft a little bit to implement this. People, some of the other operating system already have this in place. But the cool thing is we have it now in 2022. Though for people to have this in place, they will need to ensure that their Windows Server security level baseline in order for them to be able to use this. And I also see that the hot patching is also something that is applicable to Windows Azure VMs. Why do you think this is, Adnan? Do you see this happening? Do you see this feature being rolled over into the on-premises version of Windows Server anytime soon?
Well, we're gonna have to wait for I think Server 2022 for that to happen. It's kind of a world where we always want to be. One of the biggest thing is downtime, and we were chatting just a couple of days ago and saying,
Yeah.
is there still going to be a need to have a downtime at some point in time? Like right now, we still need that. We can't update everything, and it's like your phone. You can update your phone and be ready to go. And a lot of times, my notebook or Surface Book, I've set it up to just sometimes I just switch it on and it's just updates in like a minute. So there's still some downtime, but
Yes.
it's like minimal, But I believe until we get there, there'll always be some little downtime. So I'll have to play
Yes.
around more and see where this is gonna go. With automation. I mean, a lot of Azure
Okay.
stuff in the back end.
Yes, and maybe it's also good for us not to assume now that everybody knows what hot patching means. Hot patching, for people that are not familiar with the terminology, means that you out the need for a reboot. So that's what it really means, right? So just like Adnan mentioned, so you have less downtime doing that. So Adnan, do you want to mention any cool feature that you've also found? Then rotate this.
Well, it's quite a lot of things from Ignite, So if
Yes.
we're just going to talk about Server 2022, that's a session in itself, and then we can
Yeah.
depth when we get there, So for my thing with Microsoft Ignite was all the really cool the new stuff, like the updates that's being happening with artificial intelligence and machine learning. So that's what got me, and also being a trainer, training online and those kind of stuff. I'm sure you saw the keynote, the great keynote
Yeah.
with we're talking about Microsoft Mesh. Maybe you could
Yeah.
tell the viewers a little bit about that. So that's
Wow,
really
so
exciting.
Microsoft Mesh for me was just, that was what that I would say was just my Microsoft Ignite state. The Microsoft Mesh, how I think it would be nice, Adnan, if we can show a little video about Microsoft. But before then, Microsoft Mesh is the mixed reality platform from Microsoft. So if I would say it in a very simple sentence, it allows people to interact with each other as if they are seeing themselves face to face, and for the developers to, Adnan, I really think it's to be a developer. Sometimes listening to that, the video about Mesh, it really got me thinking. I just wish I was a developer. I think for the developers,
Well,
there's no better time to be a developer than
well,
now.
wait till I start talking about the IoT stuff. So, I understand that feeling because, I got a little excited too, and there's a lot of news coming. So maybe you should share that video quickly so they can see what to mean.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So right now, so that people get a feel of what we're talking about.
It's so wonderful to be here, finally being able to take the wraps off Microsoft Mesh and being able to give a tour to you all. Before we get started, let me give you a quick tour of the setup. What you are seeing is a custom camera rig that gives you the perspective as if you are wearing a HoloLens. With that, let me flip my HoloLens visor down and enter Microsoft Mesh. Foundational to Microsoft Mesh is this notion of spaces. Think of spaces like a conference room, except something that is persisted across time and geographies. I have my home space. I have a pipeline review space where my colleagues are waiting for. So let me go ahead and enter the pipeline review space. And I can see here my dear friend Nishant waiting in the review space. So Nishant, great to see you here.
Hey, Simon. How you doing?
Hello. Hey, Nishant, can you explain a little bit of what you are seeing?
Absolutely, Simon. I see an avatar of yours and I hear your voice as if you were right across the room from me here. I see an awesome hologram of a table which is inviting me to bring in 3D models and create and collaborate upon it. And of course, as I lift my hands, I see the hand menu where I can bring in more people into the space. I can go ahead and change my avatar and appearance. I can annotate, draw, and bring in more shapes and figures into the space, as well as bring in 2D and 3D content to collaborate upon.
Hey, Nishant, since we are here to take a look at the project that Doreen worked on, do you think you could quickly invite her if she's available to the space?
Certainly, Simon. Let me invite her in.
While Nishant is doing this, I want to make a mention that Microsoft Mesh is integrated with AAD and MSA so that hosts can invite participants into designated spaces in a simple but trustworthy manner. When I lower down my visor, I can see that Nishant has already invited Doreen to this space. Hey, Doreen, great to see you here.
Hi, Simon. Hi, Nishant.
Doreen, so great to see you. Do you recall the pipeline project that you worked on? It needs a quick review. If you could kindly bring in that model from your OneDrive so we all could take a look at it and make a few recommendations to the engineers, that'd be great.
Absolutely. Let me pull it up from my OneDrive. What's great about Mesh is the integration with the Microsoft 365 graph. What we show here is actually a model that our customers use today. This is a part that is used to prevent spills, but the idea is that a wide range of data can be showed inside of Mesh. Your connections, your collaborative efforts, your workflows, even your documents transfer very well from a 2D space into a 3D space.
So one of the things about collaboration in mixed reality is the three-dimensional fidelity that it offers. And while each of us can have a unique perspective into it, we all can rotate, translate, pan, zoom, add or redact from this model, driving clarity to the decision-making while reducing the cost and complexity of being in in-person meetings. One of the things that I miss out really in in-person meeting is the ability for us to annotate in a whiteboard or on a paper. And with Microsoft Mesh-enabled applications, I can bring up my hand menu, bring up my annotations here, and my fingers turn into, at this time, essentially a pen through which I can annotate in a space. I can see here that while I've been doing this, my colleagues here have annotated as well.
Yeah, and speaking of annotations, I think there's a piece of this model we should look at. Can you come over here and take a look quickly?
Sure.
Great. I'm actually noticing that this space on the model here may actually need a further look from our engineering team. It seems like there might be something out of date. Do you think we can take a look with them maybe early next week?
Yeah, I can request the engineering team to come and take a look.
So I'm going to stop playing this now, but people should get the picture of what we're talking about. So we're talking about mixed reality here, and you can see you want to have a meeting, and it looks like you're having people right in front of you. You can collaborate almost real time using this Microsoft Mesh. But Adnan, from my end, what I see is, I see as a downside to Microsoft Mesh is the fact that, you need to purchase that little gear now, that headset. And so
well, it really depends. You don't.
be a little
You
bit
can
expensive.
still.
Or do you have one yourself, Adnan?
No, not yet. I didn't buy the kit yet, but they are like cheaper, virtual reality goggles that you can get. And for some people, just to view the environment, there's a way you can view it, just like the keynote at Ignite was able to enter into one of these rooms and attend it virtually, So Microsoft did set up a demo for that. And that was really nice to see, the way when Alex gave the presentation, you could see the holograms of the fish and the whales and the sharks swimming around. And it would have been nice to have experienced that with the HoloLens, in the environment. But 2D was just as great, So I see a lot of business applications for this, So think of factories. Some of the examples that they also mentioned, where they skill up people to train a lot faster, using those kind of applications. And also in the medical field. So quite a lot of them, assisting doctors in remote areas. So the expert can let a junior doctor do the operation and assist,
Exactly.
and in a way, technology can save lives, So a lot of great
Exactly.
things coming with that. And in my view, it's what we're doing right now, just a lot better, Teams on steroids, so it's gonna be
exactly,
amazing.
and then giving that 2D, 3D effect to things.
Yeah, especially if you like working with as an architect or designer on a product, and you're collaborating with somebody. You don't have to send them a model and then wait weeks to get something back. You could work on it together, like modify whatever you're working on as if it's an actual product in virtually.
Yeah.
I make a change, you make a change, and then we can just click on the save button and direct to print. So this is really going to speed up technology, and you've seen that the gigantic leap that everybody's made in the past year, just due to COVID, with being forced to not be on site and working remotely. So a lot of collaboration internationally, a lot of clever minds coming together and really, changing the world by bringing this platform to us.
Yes, exactly.
So
so they can get
going
to
the
work
right
on,
way.
collaborate on their codes. So another thing that I found interesting in one of those mentions is ARM templates. Implement using the Json ARM templates. So that I see now is being somewhat replaced by Microsoft Bicep. But quickly, Adnan, do you want to tell us a little bit more about ARM templates?
Well, and
Is it appropriate, to use ARM template, and why do we need to use it?
Well, orchestration, infrastructure as code, and it can be a steep learning curve to some people. I usually show people where they can find it easier if they're doing things through the GUI, so they can see what the template of that looks like, because you're getting the Azure Resource Manager template that really gets pushed through and created, and then it gets sent through to Azure, and that gets executed. So every time you create anything through the GUI, there's actually a template being made, and that's the one thing that gets deployed. Now, the nice thing about a template is it's a script, so in JSON format, and it's declarative. So you declare variables and syntax and those sort of things. And it has repeatable results, so every time you perform it. And the nice thing about that is we can use it in orchestration. So we can, for example, say we want 10 and orchestrate and have things created for us, So because of the slight steep learning curve, Azure Bicep, it's you could say it's a layer on top of that, just to make it more simplified version of creating a template. So it's definitely going to make people's lives a little easier.
Easier, yes,
and,
exactly.
And save time. So it's all about efficiency, I guess. We're always thinking, something new again, but it's got to do with efficiency. So that's the nice thing about Microsoft as well. They're always improving and looking at where they can improve.
And even the Bicep, yes. I also see that the Bicep can, translate the Bicep code into ARM templates that people can then start to use. So they still don't have to worry about, still doing the ARM template anymore. So they can just step on the Microsoft Bicep to do the translation for them.
That's correct.
From your own end, what are those other new improvements or those new add-ons that you've seen?
Well, some things that kind of drew my attention, and what I like is a lot of the artificial intelligence, adding on to You could say what the mesh platform brings, existing artificial intelligence that people are already using. So there's been a lot of new improvements in that. So before Azure Search, or at least cognitive search, has been updated to provide a more semantic search, and that really just means that you can search on intent. You know, instead of using keywords, for example, you can search on like a sentence, like when was the first moon landing, or how do I create a ARM template? You know, so it will go and find out what ARM template is, and then
Can you, Adnan,
explain
sorry,
about
can you
that.
use that to search? Can you use that to search how many cars we have in Lagos, for example?
Exactly. You could. It's just a way. If well, you first need to have the data, so you could search on the data in that. And the nice thing, one of the improvements talking about Lagos, form recognizer. You know, they have updates where extra data extraction in newer languages. So maybe in the local Nigerian dialects, you never know, might be available. I don't know which ones they are, because the 7 main languages, like where I'm based, Dutch, is already picking up, and it's just a great way in which the intelligence can see what kind of form and data is on those forms that we can fill in, for example. Talking about artificial intelligence, I'm going to skip straight to the interesting part for me, if you don't mind, and that's the new Azure Percept. You know, because it comes with hardware. I've been working with cognitive services, Azure Vision, speech, and helping people learn machine learning and artificial intelligence and setting them up. You know, the services that you get in Azure, the cognitive services. Well, Microsoft has made it even easier. Okay, so they've provided a kit. So it's a developer kit of hardware. And if I share my screen, I just want to share my screen quickly so I can show people a picture. So I can just go here. If you can see that on your screen.
Yeah, sure.
So that's basically the Azure Percept developer kit that they're providing. It's on pre-order right now, a couple of $100. And the nice thing is you're getting the compute unit, you're getting a camera unit, and also extra audio add-on with a number of microphones. And alongside Azure Percept is the Precept Studio. And what the studio actually provides, I just want to see if I have Azure open over here. Just give me a sec. So it basically just connects with your Azure portal, and you can go and work with Percept Studio to create machine learning models. I'm just dragging it on my screen. So along with that hardware that I've shown you, and with the Percept Studio, in conjunction with its new software, and relying on the cognitive services, you can basically connect to the devices that you have and create a prototype. And this is for guys that don't even know any programming. You know, you can just view some of the sample applications that's listed here. For example, people counting, and because you're working with vision and with speech, you have the microphones, you have the camera. It's really for those IoT environments where you can have these cognitive services or AI running at the edge, you know. So a lot of fast, basically setting these up. The camera can then detect objects, and depending on the model that you trained it for, you know, and also depending on the speech and those kind of audio that you set it up, you can do really amazing things with this, you know. So this, just like
Yeah.
you said, getting that excitement with Mesh and doing development and those stuff. So when I saw this, and the more I, you know, look into this, so I'm hoping to get my hands on a kit, play around with it, and this is really gonna you know, ramp up the IoT space with artificial intelligence, because I
Definitely.
know that this technology is already being in use for good uses as well, in especially in Africa, in South Africa, where I'm from. You know, a lot of the game parks, a lot of the animals, you know, that quite often they in fear of being killed by poachers because of their horns and those sort of things.
Yeah.
So a lot of these parks already implement this kind of technology using the vision to because there shouldn't be any real human beings running around in a game park, and if there are, you know, their technology can then from the view of the camera see if the human is carrying a weapon like a gun, or they also have artificial intelligence and machine learning and the cloud helping them with location services, so where the camera was triggered, where the picture was taken. So, you know, saving a lot of these animals' lives from poachers that are just out to get their horns and things. So, great technology. I can't wait to get my hands on a kit. What do you think about it? Huh?
Yes, I think it's really a
IoT,
very
artificial intelligence, and really, you just with a few clicks away, and it gets set up. So there's, you know, getting started, where you can go and learn prototyping, demos and tutorials, a lot of samples to get you started, you know, and go get your device. If I go take you to the store, you can get the Percept kit for $350, you know, and you can add the audio option. So this is, I think, you know, out now. Go and get it. You know, play around with it, especially the
yeah,
guys that are
sure.
into AI and IoT.
Exactly, exactly. And the fact that one doesn't need to have a master's degree in mathematics nowadays, to come up with very nice IoT few clicks of nothing. And with the introduction of this technology now, it just makes it way easier. Another one that I see, Adnan, is passwordless authentication. So I felt that one was also a very cool introduction. Yes, I know passwordless authentication is being in review on Azure since 2020, 2019, I like
Hmm.
to believe. Yes. And for those listening or that might be rewatching this at a later time now, people might be wondering, passwordless authentication, does this mean Microsoft want us to stop using password?
No,
Yes,
since a long time already.
Microsoft.
Since a long time.
Yeah, yes, yes. I mean, let's face it, that Nani, uh, because when we leave people to choose password, people usually want to go with very weak passwords, right? And one thing we find is also that this even applies to technical people too, administrators themselves. They get to use one password across different services, right? So, they're using one password to register on the different services, meaning that if a user password is hacked, then the intruder can use that same password to gain access to their profiles across the different platforms now. So, the use of a password disaster.
Well, you know, it's always going to be the weakest, what was always the weakest link when it came to authentication and access, security access, because you could just guess somebody's password, you know, and thinking back to the
Yes.
day, people used to have that little post-it note on the monitor screens when I used to do tech support in these large organizations of like 2,000 people in one building or location, you know, a lot like these Microsoft corporations. People reuse the same password. So nice thing is you still have a password that you don't really need to use actively. So you don't have to sign in every time. You can use biometrics, FIDO keys, those sort of things. So I've used the FIDO2 setup security key with Azure AD, set that up, and it's makes it a lot easier. You know, just using your key in conjunction. You still have the other security things like MFA and
Yes,
the
exactly.
other biometrics. I use my Windows Hello with Windows 10 and a number of options, you know. So even though you maybe don't have the key, you can still fall back on a different option, you know,
Yes,
and sign in.
yes.
So just making it safer, you know, to have different options to sign in.
Okay. Yes, and people need to know that just like you've mentioned, for those who are wondering, passwordless, how does it work? Adnan has mentioned it. It means that you could log into your systems using facial recognition, biometrics, finger authenticator, right? So that's what that means, and only available on Azure now. Of the customers also use Microsoft 365 or Office 365, so it's something they can also leverage. So what other thing did you find, Adnan?
You mean what more? There's so many
Yes.
things to talk about. We could sit there for a few days, just like Ignite in itself, you know. So I just building onto the whole zero trust. I remember a while back I spoke about identity protection, and it's really just Microsoft moving forward with the whole zero trust security approach across the board, you know, and that's what passwordless authentication also falls on, and where you can also recover that passwordless credential using things like a temporary access pass, which is a good thing, you know, and extra conditional access updates for more granular policies. So that's always a good thing. So a lot of things. In fact, so much to mention, you know, with things like Azure Arc also supporting machine learning for large-scale interactive data preps in machine learning that's backed by Azure Synapse, so they can just do more capabilities, you know, using Azure machine learning on the data and do things like feature engineering on the big data directly, you know, from machine learning notebooks. So that's just saving time and optimizing their workflows. And so much new analytics options as well with Azure Synapse pathway, where they can accelerate migrating from legacy to cloud data warehousing using Synapse Analytics, changes with Stream Analytics, you know, so getting more out of their data and just getting to do the calculations a lot faster. And then something that also in regards to data management and governance and a little bit of security. For example, Azure Purview, which is sort of new and has new capabilities as well to scan and classify data that allows to now scan third-party or data residing in AWS, SAP, Oracle, and those sort of things through Purview, and it has, you know, it's integrated with information protection, so it can apply the same 365 compliance center policies to the data, saying who has access to that data. And then the devs already, you know, a lot of tooling and updates for the developers, like the .NET Upgrade Assistant that they're now available in preview, that allows people to update or upgrade, you know, any large mission critical .NET framework-based applications to more modern cross-platform, high-performance cloud-based .NET Core 5 and newer. You know, so that's really gonna help a lot of the developers up there get their older applications working in a new space. And then also talking about the marketplace, you know, where third-party vendors and also Microsoft makes specific solutions, third-party cloud solutions available for use in Azure. Now the Azure Marketplace is generally available, so all organizations can now use this service to ensure that only you know, either the vendors or the solutions that they you know, okay to use within the organization or comply to their policies and regulations. They can create their own private Azure Marketplace, so their employees can use those solutions within the company. Because I know sometimes you see so many different options, and I know in the past some of these guys click the wrong thing, and before you know it, there's a lot of money being spent. And also, so by having these policies in place and only providing the subset of all the solutions, it's really a good thing to go. Because, you know, I believe in standardizing everything.
Sure.
You know?
Okay, and I also see, you know, time now is not very much our friend, but I also see there are some new certification that is also being introduced, and then you want to walk us through a few of those.
Well, you know, quite a lot of you could say certifications and things have been made available. For example, a lot of the security certs. So I'll didn't have time to do some of those yet. Security compliance and identity fundamentals. You have the associate for information protection, and also the security operations analyst and identity access. You know, specifically focusing on different types of security. You know, so there people can go and further specialize and show their expertise. And the nice thing that I think everybody that's been in the certification game for a while now is pretty happy that you can, once you've attained a specific certification, you only have to do an assessment on Microsoft Learn.
Exactly.
You know, you answer a bunch of questions, and then you set for another year. So we're going to see a lot of those new assessments rolling out. And you know, besides just the ones that we normally do, there's also, you know, there were new dynamics and other fundamental stuff. And I know people were waiting for the Windows virtual desktops as well. So that's also one of the new ones that's out there pretty soon
Okay.
on the new list.
So, sure. Because of time, Adnan, I think you know, this is how much we're going to be looking at today.
Sure.
But yes, before we wrap up now, so just like we mentioned earlier, today is just to whet our appetite a little bit about some of the new introductions to Microsoft Azure. So hopefully, be, you know, tearing things apart, taking them one after the other. Do you have something in mind, Adnan, for something we're going to do next? So I see, you know, some people already attended Ignite, so this might be okay repetition for them.
Yeah,
So
well,
hopefully the next
we deal with,
episode.
well, we deal with like a lot of people that are also new to cloud, and there's always new people coming. And it's always nice to, new year, new you, start fresh and, just get started with the basics again, with identity and access. So
Okay.
I see that the next session or technical session where we'll go more in depth on security, access, identity access and authentication, Azure Active Directory, things like how you set up passwordless authentication, for example, just some of the new things that have been announced, and now we can go and build on that. And then after the identity has been set up, what's next? Making applications, working with IoT, and we can further, go into more detail on some of the content that we spoke about today. Like how people can go and apply that in day-to-day life and really go ahead
Uh,
and create these things on Azure.
so, Adnan, we'll wrap up here, right?
Hmm.
From you before we say goodbye to people.
Sure. You know me, we can talk forever. And there's always just so much to talk about. So really looking forward to next time. And what I want to leave people with is just let us know if there's something specific that you'd like us to cover in the next month or so after we focus on identity. Maybe you want to learn how to create an app, make an application available. We're going to show how you can go and set up an application with Azure AD authentication anyway. I know that's on our roadmap. And then just let us know at Micro Specialist. Let Kazim know. Kazim can teach. I'm on social everywhere. So look me up on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, etc.
Okay, and just one comment that I'm seeing in the chat box. So somebody is saying Adam is changed. What's happened here? So
Well, we still in lockdown, so everything was closed. It turns out I'm a lot better at IT work than cutting hair. I just took it all off, man. I just took it all off. So I think the last one it was even less, but it's growing back. So
okay, all right. So time. So remember, you can rewatch this and our previous episode that we've done all on YouTube. So the channel is Lassus CBT 18. So you can watch all of those previous episodes that myself and Adnan have recorded. For now, it's bye bye from myself and Adnan. So
yeah,
continue to keep safe, and we'll do this another time.
bye
Bye
bye.
bye.